Hello, everyone. Welcome back to yet another political episode. I don't know why that took 12 seconds to start, but we got some breaking news that has happened 3 days ago, but we're hearing news about it now, and we can cover it. George Ryan, the former governor of the state of Illinois, Rhino, and convicted felon, has passed away at the age of 91. Now, George Ryan, he is pretty, I wouldn't say iconic, but he was popular during his tenure as governor. A lot of people liked him, including conservatives and liberals, as his most biggest accomplishment was officially eliminating the death penalty in the state of Illinois. But regardless, he has had some experience with the justice system, as he was jailed and convicted and sent into prison for corruption. He is consequentially probably one of the most corrupt governors of the state of Illinois that actually has a lot of corruption. A lot of corrupt leaders. I wouldn't be surprised if Pritzker was corrupt. But I want to make it clear, Rod Blagojevich, his story is different. Some people don't think so. I am honestly not going to debate it on this channel, because we got to talk about George Ryan and his long electoral history, which, well, I would say it's long, but it is pretty iconic. But let's go ahead and get started. Born in 1934, so he was pretty old. George Homer Ryan was an American politician who served as the 39th governor of Illinois from 1999 to 2003, a member of the Republican Party. He previously served as Secretary of State of Illinois from 1991 to 1999, as Lieutenant Governor from 1983 to 1991. He was later convicted of federal racketeering, bribery, extortion, money laundering, and tax fraud, stemming from his time in office. So, yeah, his electoral history, of course, we'll mention it, but he first started out as the in the Illinois House of Representatives, representing the 43rd District. We usually don't like talking about the state district, state house. Yeah, it happened. It's just very hard to analyze those. But we're just going to cover that now, and when it comes to that. He later became the minority leader of the Illinois House of Representatives, and then the Speaker of the Illinois House of Representatives, the 35th Speaker. And then in 1983, I don't know, did he run a campaign for lieutenant governor? Well, actually, no, he was Jim Thompson's running mate. I don't know if there was a primary. Oh, yes, there was a primary. He ran in the primary for lieutenant governor, in which he did pretty well. And let's actually pull up that results. Illinois election atlas. My famous way to get to Dave Leaps, which is actually the quickest way if you want to get to a specific state. Okay. It's being a bit slow, but yes, you'll see clearly this was a pretty close primary. He wins, defeating the Susan Catania and Donald L. Totten in the primary. It was pretty close. Ryan did a 14-point performance over Catania in that said race. We do not actually have results. Actually, no, we do. We just need Republican primary results. 1982. Okay, here we go. For the lieutenant governor. So, when it comes to that race, very slow internet today. I don't appreciate it, but yeah, pretty good race. And you'll see Thompson came very close. He ousted Adlai Stevenson III, who you know is actually the son of Adlai Stevenson II. And Adlai Stevenson II is the son of the vice president, Adlai Stevenson, who served under Cleveland. But yes, you'll clearly see here, yeah, very slow. Seriously. But yes, Jim Thompson makes... Stevenson was running in this race, and he wasn't even the governor. So, yeah, Stevenson was a pretty good opponent for Thompson, but Thompson ended up winning. And George Ryan would run for re-election as lieutenant governor. Adlai Stevenson III is back, but with a new political party, his very own Illinois Solidarity Party. Very similar to, of course, he's ringing in with his father's leftist policies. But back to the primary here for 82. Yes, you'll see the areas in blue won by Ryan for the primary. Yes, you'll see counties in green. They were carried by Donald L. Totten. That makes 24.61%. And Susan Catena only won 2 counties, but pretty populated counties. There's Rock Island County and the county of Cook, which holds Illinois. And yes, the suburbs of Illinois which holds Chicago. The suburbs of Chicago, very Republican, like Lake County, DuPage County, Will County, very Republican. But then again, they're more socially liberal. And so we notice, all those Republicans are now Democrats or independents now that support Bernie. So, pretty good result for George H. Ryan. He has the areas he needs to win. That is rural Illinois, which it doesn't matter if Catania has Chicago or what. Ryan is pretty much the winner at this point. All right, so in regards to primary, George Ryan won 100% of the popular vote. Not write-ins, only 7 votes. That makes 0%. I disagree with that logic. But looking at this here, pretty good result. Yeah, Democrats didn't run a nominee, but they did have Mark Fairchild as the lieutenant governor nominee, quote unquote. But you'll see this is lieutenant governor. And in 1990, Ryan is going to throw a bid for Secretary of State. You'll see he wins the primary, Republican primary, to become that nominee. He won it unopposed. So there's nothing really to discuss in regards to this. And he would be facing off Jerry Constantino, who, of course, he isn't the incumbent. But this was a Republican hold. It wasn't really much of a close election. You'll see Ryan enjoyed over a 5-point win, as of course he is, after all, a liberal who supports abortion. Let's see if there's any mentions. He indeed is a moderate. Yeah, you see here that he was just in hospice for a couple days until he died. But yeah, that is pretty much a good result for the Republicans there. Yes, of course, he won DuPage 70%. Lake County, 70%. That county down below, that's Kendall County, 70%. Will County, 70%. Kane, 70%, if I haven't mentioned it already. now Democratic counties used to be over like 60 to 70% Republican, and Cook County itself was pretty compatible too. But even Cook County has a lot of Republican suburbs, but Chicago is pretty much holding them through. We know back then, Southern Illinois was solid Democratic. Anyone know why? The Catholics. Catholics were what? They dominate rural Southern Illinois. I would describe Franklin County, I believe, Catholic county. This county's Catholic. But otherwise, there are some counties that are just influenced by like Kentucky, Missouri, more notably. But yeah, then again, the farmers, the laborers, the workers, they were somewhat more disputed. All right, he's running for re-election in the Republican Revolution, and he does actually quite well. He's running against Pat Quinn, who is, of course, future governor, and would later, of course, blanking on it. He would succeed Governor Bleckovich when he was convicted. But yeah, Ryan winning 60%. You'll see he even almost won the county of Cook, Chicago. When you have to be very liberal if you're piercing through Cook County. So that's why I'm thinking, yeah, this guy's definitely liberal if he's going against the death penalty, which back then in the 90s, going against the death penalty is basically advocating for crime. That was sort of the logic. Even Democrats advocated for the death penalty. But this was pretty much a landslide. Ryan, of course, winning 100% on the primary. And, of course, winning every county, the counties that he needs to win the election. Cook County being in the 40 percentage point, like losing it by a point or such, is a guarantee victory for Ryan. And it's this county that he didn't win. It's then again a Catholic county, White County. Actually no, that's not White County. This one right here, Gallatin. And yes, Gallatin County has been historically very solid Democrat, representing solid Democratic Illinois. You'll see, yes, he's winning Illinois, solid blue Illinois, than Southern Illinois by like solid margins, in like the 60%, which is actually very good for Ryan. But of course, after his term as Secretary of State, what does he do? He runs to become the governor of Illinois. Look at that. Okay, things have went backwards now. Why? Well, it's not. No one knew about Ryan's convictions or the threat that Ryan imposed to the state. It was mostly that, other options. You have Glenn Poshard. Poshard is a U.S. representative. And again, people honestly view U.S. representatives, and they still do, as successors to be like a senator or someone like the governorship, to these more higher rankings. They're climbing the ladder. So people view governors as more experienced compared to the average Secretary of State or the Attorney General. After all, they do have more name recognition. But then again, Ryan, having his support in the suburbs in Chicago, he lost Southern Illinois. And that's pretty much, was that inevitable? I don't know. But let's see, did he run in the primary? Yeah, it was actually a close primary. If not, Ryan did carry every county in Illinois against Chad Coppey. And Corrine G. Wood would be his running mate. So this is the result. This was a pretty close election, mainly, like I said, the Democratic nominee comes from the House of Representatives. Huge benefits for Democrats. But Poshard didn't get what he wanted from, in this case, Lake and Will. You would at least need to boost and get Cook County up to 60% at least. And that would have been a victory for Polshard, but it wasn't that way. DuPage is at 60%. Kane's at 60%. This county's at 60%. And I can guarantee you some suburbs in Chicago went red in favors for Ryan. So it wasn't really in benefits for him. And look at that. He is succeeded by another felon. Rod Blagojevich. I don't mean to call him a felon. I would say I like Blagojevich better than Ryan. Mainly because, you know what, I do sympathize. I do think he was actually thrown into jail mistakenly. He, like, for instance, they didn't like what he planned to do with Obama's seat, because in 2008, guess what he had to do? He was the governor in 2008. Obama left his Senate seat to become president, and the Blagojevich would not cooperate with the deep state to put the deep state senator in that seat. So they threw him in jail. Which, honestly, he was on the Rogan show and he exposed that. And I'm like, okay, he's now turned Trump supporter, and you know, he's still pretty liberal, but he's then again, in the MAGA movement, you don't have to be a conservative. You could be a MAGA leftist. It's anyone that wants to make America great again. It's just so simple like that. But looking here, it says right here, incumbent Republican Governor George Ryan, who was plagued by scandal, did not run for a second term. Democrat Rod Blagojevich, a U.S. congressman, ran against Republican Jim Ryan. No relations, though. But that pretty much is that's pretty much it for George Ryan. That was his last election, and obviously his political career was ruined because of that scandal. And he had served time in prison. Here you'll see in 2010, Ryan requested early release, partially because his wife had terminal cancer and was given only 6 months to live, and partly on the grounds that some of his convictions should be vacated in light of the U.S. Supreme Court ruling that was alleged to have affected their legitimacy. On December 21st, 2010, U.S. District Court Judge Rebecca Palmer denied Ryan's request. On January 5th, 2010, Ryan was taken from his prison cell in Terre Haute, Indiana, to a hospital in Kankakee to visit his dying wife. He was present when she died on June 27th. 5 months after that visit, Ryan entered a Salvation Army halfway house in Chicago on January 30th, 2013. Less than 3 hours later, he was released back to his home in Kankakee, where he remained on home confinement until July 3rd, 2013. Yeah, it's disappointing that we have these politicians that make these stupid decisions. I have to tell you, pretty disappointing. But anyway, what do you guys think in regards to George Ryan? Let me know down below. And as always, I'll see you all in the next political episode.